Hey folks, it's Tommy Frugal Prepper. So an update on my health situation. I had a stroke on October the 12th. I had blood pressure 270, 280 over something. Had a stroke. It happened at work about 9:30 in the morning. And I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't talk. I got to my car. I was walking back in from the shop to my desk when it hit. And I just got really dizzy and I just couldn't. So I sat down in my car. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and take a break for a minute and I'll be all right. Something. And so I sat there and I smoked a cigarette. Worst thing I could have done. That was my last cigarette, by the way. And I got worse. I couldn't see. Everything was blurry. It was double. I had no sense of balance. I knew I couldn't walk inside. I tried to get on my phone and I'm like, I can't see my phone to dial anything, to call anybody. And I thought, well, I'm going to call my boss and ask Siri to call him. And I asked Siri to call him and she did. And so I told him what was wrong. And he came out. He called the ambulance. The ambulance came. They scooped me up and got me to the hospital. The hospital did a CAT scan to make sure it wasn't a bleeding kind of a stroke. It was a clot kind of a stroke. And then they gave me the clot buster. They told me there's a 6% chance that you're going to die if we give you the clot buster. And if you're going to die, you're going to die. Like, if you have a bleeding reaction to the clot buster and you die, there's not really much they can do about it, right? But that I was in the beginning of my stroke. It was going to get much worse probably. And, I could have ended up like a complete invalid, and so I thought I'd rather die than live as an invalid. So let's say whatever I have left and give me the clot buster. They gave me a shot to take my blood pressure down in my IV real quick. And it dropped down really quick. To like 150 over something, and then they just gave me the clot buster. Then I was in intensive care I couldn't get out of bed for 8 hours. And I had to pee. I couldn't pee in the little plastic thing that they give you because something in my brain says you don't pee in bed, and I couldn't get up and use the toilet. So I just was like, well, I'm holding it for 8 hours and 1 minute, and then I'm going in the toilet. So I held it, and they kept saying, like, well, you haven't peed yet. You haven't peed yet. You have to pee. And I'm like, yeah, I have to pee, but I can't pee. I need to pee in the toilet, And so, anyway, that 8 hours went by. I got up. I used the toilet. I had to have a walker and help walking, and I was seeing everything as double, like I saw two of everything, so I have to close one eye, and then everything was blurry and out of focus. Everything looked really bright, like my pupils were dilated. They wouldn't come down, especially in this right eye. And so a lot of times I closed this eye, and this eye would see better, but this eye was like overexposed with light. I was numb in my right leg. I had a hard time lifting it up when I would try to walk. I lost like fine motor skills in my right hand. The side of my face was numb too. And like I would smile at first, and my smile would be all on this side and not on this side, But now it's pretty good. I still have a little numbness here, but it's not that bad. I still have a little numbness in my arm. It's not that bad. My fine motor skills are fine. I went to the cardiologist because I was having a problem with my heart, like slowing down its pulse, but beating really, really hard, like, and I feel it in my eyes and hear it in my ears, and then I would take my blood pressure, and my blood pressure would be low. It'd be like 117 over something, but my pulse would be like 35 to 40. And then I just sit there for a while, and it would go away, and my stuff would return. And it always happened when I would do some type of exercise. Like the one time it happened, I was taking the trash out and walking back up the driveway. I get all lightheaded and dizzy too. So the cardiologist, I'm seeing him right now. I got this little thing on me that's monitoring my heart. I'm supposed to press the button if that happens again, but it hasn't happened. But when I went to the cardiologist and was going through my medications, they said, "Oh, you're on Flomax?" I was like, "No, what's that? What's Flomax?" They're like, "Oh, it's for if you have an enlarged prostate." I'm like, I don't. I've never been diagnosed with that or had any problems with that. And they're like, well, I'm like, as far as I know, I don't take that. I don't know how that's in there, you know? So we went through the rest of my medications, and I was like, oh, I'm on the tamsulosin too. And they're like, oh, that's Flomax. And I'm like, really? Like, why am I on that? Well, the emergency room doctor prescribed it for some reason and prescribed me 6 months worth of refills. And I was there for a stroke, not an enlarged prostate. And the only thing we can figure is maybe he thought that would help me pee when I was saying I couldn't pee. But I just didn't want to pee till I could use the toilet, you know. And from the reading I've done, it takes a while to kick in, like a couple weeks of taking it to kick in and do anything anyway. And I don't know. So that can cause lightheadedness and dizziness and a bunch of other side effects too. So I quit taking that. I called my primary care doctor and made sure I could quit taking it and all that. And he's like, yeah, you can quit taking it. Just, it can react with your blood pressure medications and make them work better or worse. So just take your blood pressure, which my blood pressure's actually come down since I quit taking it. And the lightheadedness and dizziness has gone away. And the weird heartbeat hasn't happened again either. So I guess, there's just so many pills were prescribed to me. I was just taking them. I didn't research what all of them were or what they did. And some of them I know are blood pressure medications that I've taken before. But other ones I don't know, I'm just taking what they tell me. Except for statins. I'm not taking a statin. And they keep trying to give me statins too. Like, they'll be like, oh, are you feeling nauseous? Here, take this pill. I'm like, what is this? That's your cholesterol medicine. Like, no, it's on my chart. I don't take cholesterol medicine, And so many people, so many doctors want me to take that. My cholesterol's fine. And so I'm feeling better, and I've gone kind of keto instead of being pure carnivore during this, mostly because I'm constipated from all that blood pressure medicine, and the fiber helps bulk up my stool and keeps it moving more often. And having it sitting there for 3 days when you're carnivore, well, this medicine goes and sucks all the moisture out of that and makes it rock hard. And by keeping it moving a couple times a day from eating salad and stuff, it's not constipated. And I know everybody's going to say, well, you need to eat more fat. I eat lots of fat. I don't just eat salads. I was eating a salad once a day. Now it's every few days. But I eat a lot of meat, a lot of fat. For breakfast yesterday, I had 8 eggs, a pound of bacon, a bunch of ham, probably like a pound of ham in the eggs. And then I had cheese on it, a little cheese. And then I had 3 giant hamburger patties that I made that were probably like a half pound each. So I still eat a lot of meat, a lot of cholesterol, a lot of saturated fat, and it's good for me. And it's actually, I think, helped my stroke recovery a lot. I've done rehab. I've just kept busy doing things, reloading ammunition, cleaning the rooms, cleaning behind the fridge, the stove, cleaning, just finding stuff to do, washing the dishes, or reorganizing the basement, just finding stuff to do and staying busy and making myself do it. And it's hard to do it sometimes, but you get better at it. The more you do something, the more you get better. I've done a lot of canning. preserving food, because I'm up, I'm moving, I'm doing things, you know. And I've gotten better. Yesterday, my son's car broke down, or not yesterday, 2 days ago, my son's car broke down on the way to work. My wife went and took him to work, but I was at rehab. So I got out of rehab. My mom took me home to get my tools, and then we went and looked at his car. He had a broken heater hose. I got one, I replaced it, topped off the coolant, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna hop in it and drive it. You know, I'm feeling fine. I think I can drive 100%. I mean, I've been driving like on back roads and parking lots and stuff, but I still was just feeling a little lightheaded because I was on that Tamsulosin, and now I'm not on the Tamsulosin, and I feel great. And I drove, and it was just like driving, just like normal. I mean, I didn't feel anything weird, anything abnormal at all. So I'm going to be driving again here lately. After I stopped taking that Tamsulosin, all the dizziness has gone away. All the lightheadedness has gone away. I feel like completely normal, except my face is still a little numb. My arm's a little numb. And I have a little hard time keeping my balance when I'm doing something like bending over or walking backwards with my eyes closed. My eyes are open, I can keep my balance, but I don't lose my balance, but I just feel a little bit like, whoa, if I close my eyes. So I just have to keep my eyes open, you know. And that's gotten way better, and it'll probably continue to get better as my brain is learning how to do stuff. I had a stroke in my cerebellum or whatever, and that primarily affects the vision and the balance. I had a little trouble with my speech because my tongue was numb and not working right, but that speech has gotten better, and I'm kind of unique in that I have a split uvula and a submucous cleft palate. So I went through years of speech therapy to be able to talk. So now I make all my syllables strange ways and move my tongue in strange directions, and now I'm kind of having to relearn all that. But that's fine. And I have a hard time swallowing big chunks of food. Like I used to just cut up a steak, cut off a great big old piece, and be like, and now I have to cut it much smaller pieces and chew it a little longer. But other than that, I'm doing great. All I can say is if you have a stroke, in that first 90 days, it's really important to put the depression and the sadness about what your body's not doing right anymore behind you and work on rehabilitation. And, you know, you're going to get most of your stuff back in that first 90 days. But you can get stuff back after that, but it's slower and it requires more and more work. That first 90 days is really important, and you just have to focus on that. Even though you're tired, you can't walk, and you have to have a walker and all this stuff, and you just want to lay in bed, you have to get up and drag yourself to rehab. You have to get up and drag yourself to wash some dishes or to do something. A lot of people will say, oh, well, remember, this is a time that you need to rest. No, it's not a time that you need to rest. It's a time that you need to do stuff, to retrain your brain. A lot of people will be like, oh, let me get that for you. Let me do that for you. Let me do this for you. And you have to just constantly tell people, like, no, I know it looks like I'm lifting this all weird and I'm only taking one step at a time, but I need to do it so that I'll get better at it. You know, this is part of my therapy, you know. So let me do it. If I do need help, I'll ask, you know. And I know that's just people trying to be nice and they don't understand. But, you know, it is what it is. It's kind of weird now because I see people in like the store and I recognize the symptoms that they're displaying, and I'm like, oh, that person has had a stroke. You can just tell, because I had that problem too, you know, or I have that problem too. You can kind of see that, but I'm really lucky that I didn't have a much more severe stroke. I'm keeping an eye on my heart. I'm keeping that blood pressure as low as possible. And I have quit the smoking. And my last cigarette was while I was waiting on the ambulance to come when I had a stroke. And it's been challenging giving up the nicotine, but I just did. And I'm glad now. A lot of my friends, when they show up and visit, they're still smokers. And they show up and I'm like, oh man, they smell. I can smell it. My sense of smell has gotten a lot better. But, that is what it is. And I wish I had quit smoking many years ago and just gave that up. It's hard to go through that nicotine withdrawal, but it's totally worth it. And it's a big money savings too, not spending the money on the cigarettes. As far as fixing the cars, I've shut my business down. I'm going to close my sales tax thing here soon and pay my final sales taxes. I've canceled the insurance, the garage keeper's insurance. No longer in business. And I've kind of decided I don't want to do that. I don't want to work on cars anymore. I enjoy working on cars. It's fun when I work on my family and friends and some of my good regular customers that I know I'm going to still work on their stuff. But as far as being a mobile mechanic and trying to drive out and fix 3 or 4 cars a night, no. The main reason is I had a stroke. I could have died. It could have all been over. And you know what I want to do? I want to go to amusement parks and ride roller coasters and have fun and spend time with my family and do reload ammunition and play with guns and do the stuff that I love to do and enjoy whatever life I happen to have left. Yeah. So that's how I'm doing. I'm probably going back to work the next couple of weeks. And life goes on. I'll talk to y'all later. It's Tom, your Frugal Prepper.